Hello, this is Dan Nowman Niswander. You are watching the Nowman Show, and back on the show again, it's Jim Earl, who is most noted as an Emmy, right? An Emmy and a Peabody Award winning comedy writer for like Jon Stewart, The Final Report, and The Jimmy Dore Show. Welcome back to the Nowman Show, Jim. It's great to see you. How are you?
Hey, fine. How long has it been?
It's been 2017.
Yeah, it's too soon. Too soon.
And I have a video here when it's only like a 1 minute video, and it's speaking of 2017 when you were last on the show.
Way too long. 1 minute.
1 minute. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, here we go.
People just, the Democratic Party, I don't think wants to win. I think they make enough money as it is being losers election after election.
What do you see the Green Party's role is in creating these coalitions?
The strategic choice, I think, for progressives is, are you going to waste your time trying the failed experiment of saving the Democrats? Or are you going to work for electoral reform like proportional representation, multi-seat winners in multi-seat districts, where if a party gets 20% of the vote, they get 20% of the seats? That's the answer in the end. A Green Party under such a system would have 20 to 35% of the vote easy in California and in a lot of states around the country.
Michael Feinstein says that reforming the Democratic Party is a complete waste of time. Jim, what do you think about that?
I think that we should not reform it. We should change the name to the non-Democratic Party. And then launder money from them into a new party.
That guy was great.
It's true, right? We don't have a parliamentary system. You know, and Ralph Nader ran in 2000 because he said, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had two parties in this country? What are your thoughts?
I agree. You know, I used to have hope in the Democratic Party. I couldn't wait to vote when I was young, and I would non-vote shame people who didn't vote and say, well, how come you didn't vote? Well, you know, it's not going to change anything. And I would go, oh, screw that. You know, everybody's vote counts. The tiny ant has a place and influence on the universe, and everything matters. And it wasn't until years later when, you know, I just realized, you know, they're fucking right. Can I say right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they're right. And, you know, your vote has absolutely no relation to what the person you voted for, if they win, ends up doing. It's just, I think there's a Princeton study that bore that out. And that's why 90 to 100 million people stay home every major election, because they're hopeless. They see, you know, they're kind of the smart ones, a lot of them. Of course, a lot of them just don't care about anything, but I'm sure there are millions of people who just have given up hope, saying, you know, I don't see my vote having any relation to making things better. It doesn't matter who I vote for. They don't pay attention to anything that we want, and they never follow through with their campaign promises, or they never follow through to fight for their campaign promises. And I think that's what's happening now with people like AOC and the squad. You know, they ran on forcing a vote, getting a vote on the floor of the House for Medicare for all. And now they're suddenly against it. They barely mention it. They won't even talk about the pathetic public option of Joe Biden, who is completely excised from his brain, such as it is. So, you know, and now they take themselves so seriously, they think they can't lose their jobs. Well, they should. She ran on also losing her job by raising the ruckus on the Democratic Party. But now she's too valuable in her eyes, I guess, to even risk her job fighting, which is ironic and stupid because, you know, when you see your representatives fight for you and risking their jobs fighting for the things that you want and need, then that inspires people to get out and vote. They see people fighting for them, and they'll show up for the midterms, and which they didn't for 2010 under Obama when he failed to prosecute a single Wall Street criminal.
That's right. That's exactly why they lost seats from state, local state to national, because, hope and change just didn't happen.
Over 1,000 seats in Congress, and they see some guy just breaking their promises and not even using the power of their presidency for publicity to go, state to state, fighting for something. What is that all about? It's just wimpiness.
And it just seems like we're constantly repeating, history. And even when we talk about what happened in 2016 and 2020, it was obvious that the only candidate from 2015 and 2016 that was getting tens of thousands of people at rallies was Bernie Sanders. Even Trump wasn't doing that yet. Not even close. I knew something was up. If you were here in 2015, obviously, when the LA Sports Arena in the summer, it was the summertime of 2015, around the time we're, same time of the year as what we're talking right now. And there were 21,000 people inside the arena and several thousand at least outside. And Bernie covered one issue after another in a little over an hour, and possible solutions, right? That was the vast majority of his speech. I have it recorded. I put it up in a audio podcast somewhere. And I come home and I get on social media, and somebody in Facebook, I think it was, said that I just got back from that rally at the sports arena, and there were 21,000 people there plus whatever. And I turn on CNN. They say absolutely nothing about it. And yet they have live coverage of Hillary Clinton in what looks like a high school gymnasium that's not even completely full. And when I saw that post on social media, I said, oh, here's where we're going. This is what I already knew. And that was at the beginning of the Bernie's first campaign. And it was blatant. That's why the DNC didn't like the emails. That's why, could be why Julian Assange is in prison, on and on and on, right? Because they don't want to admit their involvement in making those alterations. Even in 2020, how can you not see the coalition with Clyburn and Buttigieg and Klobuchar and Warren and Bloomberg right conveniently before Super Tuesday, and Clyburn in South Carolina, in a state that, Trump was going to win anyway. It didn't matter for the Democrats, but the strategy was brilliant. Biden went from number 4 to being number 1. And it was like, Kamala even dropped out of the California race because she was losing so bad here. So and then now she becomes number 2. It makes no sense.
Why is California a model Democratic Party controlled state for decades and decades? For over 100 years, they've been presenting universal health care and single payer bills. And each time the Democratic supermajority has killed it, sent it to the Rules Committee to die, too many times to count. Even a Republican governor proposed universal health care in California, and the Democratic Senate representatives shot it down.
Yeah. And see, the thing about it is, what universal basically means, even around the world, because capitalism is the dominant system, there still are technically private insurance companies or private insurance entities or private medical entities. It's not that they don't exist in countries that are more socialist. It's just that they just make sure that there is a universal plan through the government so that they can make sure everybody gets the basic coverage, right? So that nobody's left out. And we're the only real major country in the world that doesn't do that, right? So you either have to be just destitute, retired, or making a pretty decent income to get healthcare coverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why there's a swath of people there in the middle, right? They can't afford it. So they would almost rather pay the, especially if they're younger and they think I'm healthy and blah, 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 blah. They'd rather pay the penalty than, pay all these premiums and maybe go to the doctor one time, to get a checkup.
You're stuck. You're stuck in the middle. If you're poor and you make over a certain amount, then you'll lose your coverage and everything that goes with it. And then you won't be able to, you can't make over a certain amount a month, or else you lose your coverage and you'll have to go onto the exchanges. And it's a deliberate catch-22 that you're put in, because when you're poor, they penalize you for it, and they make you feel horrible about it, and they do everything possible that they can to put you out in the street through humiliation with paperwork that can't be filled. A lawyer can't figure out half the things you have to fill out for food stamps and all the penalties. You pledge not to use your food stamps, trade them for fireworks, firearms, or alcohol under penalty of 5 years in jail, or as a felony or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go out and actually buy something that maybe you would even, just treat yourself to something, once in a blue moon, actually have a little bit of fun and, good mental health. Before we wrap it up, I have a fun little thing we can do, and then we can have a final statement. While I'm doing that, I don't know if there's anything that, while I'm getting this set up here, if there's anything that you would want to talk about with Russia and Russiagate, I know that's supposed to be past news, right? But
it's never going away. Russia's never going away, because that's the one thing we can blame all our mistakes and stupid things we do on, another racist, xenophobic scapegoat. And I say racist because it is racist, anti-Slav. It's a long story, but people should know that the anti-Slav bigotry and racism is centuries old, and from Western Europe and Hitler's Germany and World War II and the Lebensraum, and calling them subhuman in order to justify invading their country, like we justified killing Native Americans for our farmland. And that's what he learned from, by the way. Hitler was a big fan of pioneer novels and Western novels, and our immigration laws, racist immigration laws. And so it's all part of that. We have a scapegoat. We have a race of Slavs who were treated like criminals when they came to parts of Canada in the late 19th, early 20th century, and even put in concentration camps and had all their possessions taken away from them, and their rights and their freedom from 1918 to around after 1920. And it was merely based because they were from Ukraine and Slavs and thought of as Jewish Bolsheviks, and that's the ironic thing, is that people don't understand. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in the anti-Russia sentiment, and in addition to that, homophobia and the homophobic memes of Donald Trump and Putin. Everything's excused, on the left when it comes to bashing their enemies.
Yeah, I know. It's like they have carte blanche to do it, but how dare anybody do that to us? But we can do whatever we want. It
Right.
seems,
The whole
and
Steve Colbert cock holster remark when he talked about Putin and Trump. It's like, what in the hell are you talking about? You know?
and yeah,
And
exactly.
people calling Kevin McCarthy, Moscow or Kremlin Kevin. What is that supposed to, what, why are you
Moscow
even
Mitch.
Moscow Mitch? It's like,
It's just,
what are you talking about?
I mean, that's not, you talk about being the unity party. Well, that's not creating unity. That's creating division. Just like with the Russia story, is it, Russia has a rich history, right? Even the U.S.S.R. was a republic like the United States because it's in the title, right?
Mhm.
And it was it was socialist, not communist. That's also in the title. Their goal was to get to communism. That's not ever been reached in this country, in this world, I should say.
No.
Yet pure communism literally means the community, helping each other, focusing on the community, having a society like that. That's never happened. So that might have been the so-called goal. That might be the goal of China. That might be, whatever, still with Russia or any socialist country, but we're not there yet. That hasn't happened. Right.
No,
And
absolutely
in the case
not.
of Cuba, there's been a blockade. So they, how are you going to get there if you're blockaded by, the number one military power in the world? You're obviously going to have problems no matter what system that you choose for your country. So
Yeah, if the biggest, most powerful army in the world is basically at war with you through
right.
sanctions and blockades. Those are acts of war. It's like we do so many countries around the world, democracies that we overthrow and install friendly dictatorships, and we pretend to be freedom loving and
Yes,
democracy loving.
exactly.
And we bash Russia for wanting to get rid of NATO, which is basically threatening and surrounding its borders, and has been since the end of World War II when they were invaded for the second time and had millions of their citizens killed by Germany and invading armies. Like, what the it's just it's an utter ridiculous mind that these people are doing.
I know, and and we have to have these conversations, more and more. So I really appreciate that you come on the show to do some of that. It's great, and I think we should have some fun. I think we got some great serious conversation in, and what this is, I thought this would be a lot of fun because it brings up people we can make fun of and different things that, in between going on right now. And here's how it is. I'm calling it like, what is your preference? So it's either or, but there also could be two other things. You could say, well, I don't like neither of them, or I like both of them. So I'll share the screen. And here's the first one with the title of, let's see, Hunter or Gatherer.
I'll go for Hunter because, it looks like he does a lot of drugs and he has fun. And he lives off his dad's name. I'm all right for that.
Okay, here we go. Bernie Sanders or Colonel Sanders?
I would roast neither of them. I'm I'm probably Bernie. Yeah, Bernie. Still, even Bernie at this point.
I would prefer Bernie over that jet chicken any day. Joe Biden or Joe Camel?
That's a good Joe Camel. Yeah. Yeah. He's got.
Things are bad when you're picking Joe Camel.
Mm-hmm. Joe Camel. I prefer Joe Camel Toe. I think that would probably get a lot better laughs somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe on the Young Turks.
Mo and Curly. Mo or Curly?
Curly. Do I get any prizes? Prize for this?
Yes, the prize will be.
Because I certainly don't deserve one.
I can send you a button that I used to give in my band. I had my band. This one is The Man Who Fell to Earth, or Men Who Are Regurgitated to Space.
I would regurgitate it to space, please. Yes. And
I like
Okay.
David Bowie, but yeah, I hear you.
attach their breathing tubes to each other.
Joe Rogan or Hulk Hogan.
Joe Hogan.
Joe Hogan.
There's a big chastity belt that guy's on.
Isn't it? I know, isn't it really? I know. You ought to get on Joe Rogan.
I'm not big enough, you know.
Oh, you're not big enough?
I don't have a blue check.
Or at least not yet, anyway. Bruce Springsteen or Eric Clapton?
I'd have to go with Bruce. Eric, I don't know. Ever since Slow Hand, I just think he's gone down on the toilet.
He did play with the Beatles.
That's true. Those were his high points. Some there, yeah. Playing with the Beatles.
Yin or yang?
I pass some of those. I don't believe in yin or yang. I think it's dividing our country. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's very divisive.
I do like universal basic income. Tucker Carlson or Forrest Tucker?
Forrest Tucker, he had one of the biggest schlongs in Hollywood, I read. I think that's important.
I did not know that. He was also from, I think, from Oklahoma, where I used to live. I didn't know that. That's from F Troop. I guess he's on a show called F Troop.
Sure.
Cryptocurrency or Tales from the Crypt?
Cryptocurrency, I guess, you know. Are you invested in cryptocurrency?
Just a little bit. Are you?
No, I don't have any of that. I have money that disappears easily, but I don't have cryptocurrency. You know, if you have cryptocurrency, you could buy Tales from the Crypt, the original Tales from the Crypt.
Apples and oranges or watermelon and blueberries?
Watermelon, melon, and blueberries. I think there's
You have
getting more.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
More antioxidants, right? Fiber, antioxidants.
That's true.
And we do have a lot up here in Maine. Yeah. Bears like them.
Have you seen any bears?
No, but we have a lot of chipmunks and little red squirrels and an albino porcupine. Yeah, that's the big news up here in Maine. That and barn burnings, meth labs blowing up, barn burnings, bear sightings, and an albino porcupine.
And Kennebunkport. I do have two more. So Mitch O'Connell or a frog emoji?
Kind of prefer Mitch O'Connell because he looks like a hollowed out ventriloquist dummy. And I think he'd be a lot of laugh riots on the stage, you know. You can set him up with some nice lines. Oh, you can't say that to these nice folks, Mitch. You know, that kind of thing.
That would be a funny thing to see Mitch O'Connell trying stand-up comedy. That would be pretty funny, actually, I think. And last but not least, koala bears or lemurs?
Yeah, koala bears.
Koala bears.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have evolved over millions of years, and they have not changed one bit in 10 million years from what I read. 10 million years. They reached perfection for their environment 10 million years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. They eat toxic leaves. They sleep most of the day. And they have smooth brains. I mean, they're not problem solvers. So they just sleep in trees and eat leaves.
Wow.
That's perfect life.
That is the perfect life, isn't it? I like both. This is an example of something I like both, and even with the fruit, I like all that fruit. And the lemurs just every time I see a lemur at the zoo, also, they're very curious. They're very observant. They're looking at the, like, if in a zoo, they're looking at the people like we're the zoo creatures.
Yeah, they are they marsupials or primates, or what are they?
I think they're just mammals. I don't think they're marsupials. I don't think they might be. They might be. You know, the only marsupial that's here in the U.S. is those nasty possums. I saw one the other
Possums,
night.
yeah.
Yeah.
Possums are great. You can't.
You like possums?
They eat ticks. They collect ticks and they eat them. And ticks are, you don't want to be around ticks. But possums are gentle. You know, you gotta admire that.
Yeah, that's
Marsupials are gentle by nature. And
that's true. They're just forced into living in, just like a lot of people, living outside in horrible conditions. That's all. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I didn't want to bother it. You know, I was walking down the sidewalk and there it was in somebody's yard. And I said, I just crossed the street and said, I'm not going to, I'm just going to walk away from it and not scare it. Because of Zoom, I've met hundreds of people. So that's been a good thing. Right. And we really do need each other. I mean, I see the future being cooperative movement, and that's how we can change the economy and kind of start taking away some of that wealth away from the people that don't need it, and just changing the whole way of looking at things. I mean, I don't know how that's going to look yet. None of us do, but this system right now is not working. And I think there's a lot of denial about that. And the pandemic, who knows? There's some agenda. Why would you shut down the economy for 18 months at least? Why would you do that? And not focus on helping people who are sick get better, but focus on how we can prevent this from getting worse only. It doesn't make sense.
Well, if you're going to shut down the economy and tell people to stay home and lock down and wear masks and wait for the vaccination, pay them to stay home and provide emotional health care to them and free health care and everything else. It's insane. The priorities in this country are obviously off the mark.
Jim, it was great having you on the show. Thank you for participating in that little quiz there, survey thing. Having a little fun there. I hope you liked that.
Well, thanks. I think this went a lot better than expected. No, seriously, it was a lot of fun, and next time we can talk more about possums, which you evidently hate.
No, I just kind of freak me out a little bit. Would you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we go?
Yeah, I just want to get a Cuisinart ice cream machine. That'll make everything better for me.
Dairy or non-dairy?
And maybe a donut maker too. Doesn't non-dairy? Yeah. I have a conscience.
Exactly, and
I care about the world.
Yeah, I know. Gluten-free donuts and non-dairy ice cream, right?
That's right.
That sounds like a great idea. And you've been watching the Nowman Show, and always remember, stay in the present moment. Now. Yeah. Take care, Jim.